To another edition of the Locked On Rays podcast. And today, Ulises, we have a very special guest, one of the Tampa Bay Rays top prospects, a guy who is being talked about all over the interweb for his performance in the Arizona Fall League so far this season, Curtis Mead. Curtis, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Anytime, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. We appreciate it. And I read that you were recently named Fall League All-Star. Congratulations on that. And the numbers that you've put up in the Fall League have been insane. Last I checked, you had a 7-game multi-hit streak, 18-game hit streak. What has allowed you to click so much offensively in the AFL so far?
Yeah, I think I just kind of built off a really solid year this year. Came in with a ton of confidence. I wasn't really sure what kind of the standard would be like. So I think, just coming in with no expectations and building off a good summer.
And what has the competition been like in the Fall League compared to the minor league season? Because I know you played in low A and then went to high A and then had a cup of coffee in AAA this year. So what's the competition and the style of play been compared to the traditional minor league season?
Yeah, I think it probably fit somewhere around the AA, AAA standard. You know, you got a lot of talented low A, high A guys and a bunch of really polished AA, AAA guys. So, yeah, probably around that standard.
I want to take us back before 2021 and your amazing 2021 year. And I want to go back to Curtis Mead as a little kid. Okay,
Yep.
What is your earliest sports memory? I understand that your father also played baseball and he was a part of the Australian league over there. So what is your earliest sports memory and how did you get into baseball? Was it just because your dad was there or, you just loved the sport?
Yeah, so definitely my dad was a big influence. You know, people in Australia don't really just pick up a baseball bat, and that's not really part of our culture. So, yeah, probably from the age 5 to 7, Dad would take me out to T-ball just down the road, and I started playing T-ball, and, he was the coach because he was one of the only parents who really knew the rules to the game. So yeah, probably from age 5 to 7, T-ball, and then started playing in the junior levels down at West Torrens Baseball Club, which is in my hometown of Adelaide. So, and then, continue to work up the junior ranks there and, build on from there.
Now, at the time, were you also playing other sports, rugby or basketball, football, or was it always just baseball?
No, I played Australian rules football for a lot of years. And, up until I was 16, that was kind of really what I wanted to do. I was a pretty talented player and, I was like, oh, baseball's fun, but, AFL, like, I can be in Australia. Like, there wasn't really a pathway for me to play baseball in Australia. So I was like, oh, well, why would I leave the country? I can be a professional athlete here. And then, age 16 kind of came around. I made the Australian team, and I was kind of like, damn, like, maybe I could do this. Traveling to America wouldn't be too bad. It'd be a really good experience. Maybe I could go to college. And then, kind of when I was 17, I knew that I was a pretty good chance of playing professionally.
When you were playing baseball, was there that young Curtis Mead looking up to the MLB stars and saying, I like how he plays. I want to swing like that. I want to play like that guy. Maybe I root for a certain team. Was that in your head a favorite player or a favorite MLB team?
I was probably actually, unfortunately, a Yankees fan. So growing up, because they would show, one game a week in Australia, and it'd usually be a Yankees game, a Red Sox game, or a Dodgers game, one of the big market teams. So lots of the time on a Sunday morning, it would be Saturday night, and they'd show, a Boston Red Sox Yankees game. So, and I really liked the way Jeter played. He was probably my favorite player growing up. So, it was pretty cool from a young age to be able to watch how he handled himself and how he played the game.
Interesting. And Curtis, kind of going back to the transition from Australia to the U.S., what was the adjustment like for you of navigating both those countries and trying to get settled into the culture and lifestyle of the United States? What was the biggest adjustment for you early on?
I can't really pinpoint an adjustment, but I mean, it was really challenging at first. I initially with the Phillies signed over there and I didn't have a car. I didn't know the area. I didn't know what places to eat. Like it was like I had no idea what I was doing. So yeah, probably just the whole experience in general for the first 2 months. Finding my feet. I definitely miss home. I had to do my own laundry all of a sudden. I had to cook my own food or go and buy food. So yeah, probably that whole process.
And then what about the competition and style of play on the field? How was that different, or how did that change from Australia to the US?
Yeah, it was definitely a faster paced game initially. We had some really talented guys, some guys throwing hard. So probably just the overall speed of the game, how hard pitches through, how fast guys run. I came over as a somewhat decent runner for Australia, and I was one of the slowest guys on the team, and I was like, oh my God, like this is crazy. There was some really talented guys over here. So
Right. And following up on that, of course, I mean, you had a terrific minor league season, and it just seems like Ulises every other day or every other week, there's a Curtis Mead article that pops up, or
Yes.
somebody is sending out a tweet or social media message about this guy is just crushing it in baseball right now. But you navigated 3 different leagues this year, going from low A to high A to triple A, all in one season. What was that like for you, of going to 3 different levels, and how much of an adjustment was that for you?
yeah, I mean, it was kind of awesome, really, for me because I'd kind of come in. I'd played in Australia. I'd played well in Australia, but my only baseball in America was GCL. So I had no real expectations or anything. I was pumped to be going to low A. I was like, oh, I'm not the complex. I get to go and explore. And I kind of took everything in stride this year and just kind of took it to prove myself a bit. At the start of the year, I wasn't on any prospect lists or anything. So I was like, you know what, let's just see what I can do. Let's see how I can play, and let me just kind of get used to playing every day, because that was something that was pretty new to me still. So, yeah.
Yeah. And Curtis, following up on that a little bit, how often do you check the prospect list and see where you're ranking? Like, I think MLB.com has you at 14th, and I know, Fangraphs and Baseball Prospectus change things around a little bit, but is that something you check in periodically of, okay, they've bumped me up a little bit, or they pushed me down, or they have this scouting report that's changed on me? How much are you kind of tied into that stuff?
I'd take a little bit of notice of it, definitely, but it's not something that I get too caught up with. I think it was probably maybe June or July I got put on, and that was kind of the only really time that I was like, damn, this is pretty awesome. Like, some guy's writing about me. He thinks I'm going to be in the big leagues in 2023, and this is what he thinks I do well and what I need to work on. So, yeah, that was kind of cool. But then from there, I didn't really check in with it too much, and now that I got some recognition, I guess, for how I started the season, that was pretty cool. But yeah, now I just kind of take it as it comes. I think definitely the Rays have a different list to everyone else's. So yeah, I don't really get too caught up in that.
Now you're talking about the prospect rankings and the articles being written up. You obviously have an idea of your game, of what you want to do, of what you want people to know Curtis Mead as. If you have to pick one aspect of your game that you want people to think when they think Curtis Mead, what is it? Is it the smooth hands? Is it the hitting ability, the plate discipline, just being a good teammate? What is that one thing that you want people to think about Curtis Mead when they're talking about Curtis?
I mean, you definitely touched on the good teammate thing. I try to be a really good clubhouse guy, but I think on-field ability, definitely my hitting. I try and pride myself on being a really tough out and not giving in to pitches. So, yeah, if I can put together 4 or 5 good at bats a night, then I'm pretty happy.
That's good. We talked about starting with the Phillies organization, obviously now with the Rays. We've talked to other minor leaguers, and they do say that the Rays just operate differently than other organizations. In your opinion, in your perspective, how do they operate differently? What have you noticed that the Rays do that's maybe other teams don't? What are they focusing on? What is the special sauce that the Tampa Bay Rays seem to have?
I think definitely, they find something in players that other teams don't see. I think the scouting department is really good. They don't seem to lose many trades. They draft really well, and I think obviously the player development is really good as well. So yeah, I'm not sure there's one particular aspect, but I think as the whole organization, the coaches are really good, the scouts are really good, the players within the system are really good. We push each other, and yeah, I think the coaches are really good at kind of like knowing what you do well and continuing to work on that, but then also understanding what other aspects of the game that you need to improve on to become an everyday major league player.
You talk about scouts, you talk about the front office. How is that colliding between useful information that you get as a player, and it's not just a bunch of graphs and letters and numbers put together? How do you draw that line as a ball player, saying this is useful information, this is too much, this is too much? So how do you draw that line, or is that line being drawn for the players already?
Yeah, I would definitely go with the second. I think the coaches do a really good job of kind of interpreting the data from the front office and the scouts, and then relaying it onto the players as like, these are the aspects we want you to work on, and these are what we value as an offensive group in the minor leagues, and then the exact same thing goes with the pitching. The pitching coaches do a really good job at telling the pitchers of what they value and what how they rate all their pitches throughout the year, and what they need to work on. So yeah, I think the coaches do a really good job of drawing that line for us, so we don't really get too caught up in it all.
Yeah, coming from Australia, Kevin, then a Phillies organization, then the Tampa Bay Rays. It's a very diverse world. The baseball world is now going to Arizona. Curtis, I hear that you might be a little bit of a linguist, and I don't know. I just want to say, ¿Cómo está tu español? How is that going for you? Are you learning some Spanish with the Latin players?
Yeah, definitely. That was completely new to me, because obviously in America that's kind of like the second language taught. But in Australia, we don't. It's either Japanese or it's German or it's French. There's no Spanish whatsoever. So yeah, kind of when I first came over, it was kind of an eye opener to how many obviously talented Latin players there are. But the coach is talking to us in English, and then all of a sudden he starts talking in Spanish to the players, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? So yeah, I was kind of a big eye opener. And the Phillies, actually, when I was with the Phillies, they made it compulsory that the players at the lowest level learnt Spanish, and obviously the Spanish players were learning English. So yeah, that was definitely very humbling, and it was a big jump for me, but at least I spoke the same language. You know what I mean? So yeah, I definitely commend those guys that come over here and work hard and know two languages now, and yeah, play baseball in another country where they don't even know the primary language.
Maybe we should teach each other, Kevin. I don't know. Maybe I should teach you some Spanish to do some podcast episodes in Spanish.
There we go. That's an idea. How about that?
Yeah. Talking about Australia and what your memories are from there. I looked this up. 34 Australian players have played in the MLB.
Yeah.
I have two buckets for you here. Bucket number one, a childhood dream of being an MLB All-Star, rubbing elbows with Mike Trout and Jacob deGrom.
You didn't name any Rays there. Why not Brandon Lau, Austin Meadows?
Well, he already is going to meet them in spring training.
There we go.
It's not the same. So that's bucket number one. You're in the MLB All-Star. You're the new, hottest, biggest thing in baseball. Bucket number two, you're wearing the green and gold in the World Baseball Classic, and you've got Australia on your chest. If you have to pick one of those two buckets, which one do you go for?
Yeah, that's really challenging. I'd probably say play for Australia. That's something that I hold very, very close to my heart. And I've been lucky enough to be able to do a few times. So yeah, I would say play for Australia. But then on the other hand, that would, being in the All-Star game and playing with those type of caliber players would be something that I still don't really think is possible. Obviously, that's something I strive to become, and something that every day that I continue to play well and do well becomes more of a possibility. But yeah, that just kind of seems surreal not really possible at the moment. So yeah, I'm gonna take the option of playing for Australia just because I've done it and I know how special it is.
Very good. And Curtis, Ulises mentioned that 34 Aussies have played in the MLB. Do you have a favorite player of all time from your home country that got the chance to play in the big leagues?
Not particularly. I mean, it's impressive right now to watch kind of what Liam Hendricks has been doing, and it's really inspiring. You know, becoming the best relief pitcher in the AL is a pretty special opportunity. But no, not particularly. I mean, I more take into account the experiences that I've had with those type of guys and the things I'm learning from them, and yeah, some of them are playing a really big role in kind of my development and helping me through everything, which has been awesome. So.
Yeah, and you mentioned Liam Hendricks, and it does seem like mostly pitchers from Australia have had success in the big leagues compared to position players. Curtis, do you have any insight into why that may be? Why more pitchers from Australia have had success compared to position players? Is it a cultural thing? Were there some guys that, a couple guys made it to the bigs and they went back home, and then it just kind of matriculated to where, you look up to a certain type of player and then you want to become that player. You want to become a pitcher and go from there.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. It's honestly an interesting question. I get it a lot, and there are really a lot of talented major league hitters. Dave Nielsen was an all-star. But yeah, it's definitely a pitcher. That list would definitely have more high-end pitchers than hitters. So yeah, I'm not totally sure. I know lots of the pitchers do come back. Josh Spence comes to mind. He comes back to my hometown and he helps out a lot of guys back there. But yeah, I'm not totally sure why it's mainly pitchers. So.
Interesting. Now going forward, looking at the upcoming season 2022, what are you, after the fall league finishes and you go into the off season, what are you kind of looking to improve or hone in on? Is it something defensively? Is it something at the plate? Is it getting a little bit stronger and bigger? What are there a couple data points that you're looking at? This is my goal, or these are some of my goals for this upcoming season in the minor leagues and hopefully in the major leagues at some point.
I think it's to continue to work on my strength and mobility from a big standpoint. This is going to be the first off season in 4 years that I haven't gone and played in Australia. So I think I'm going to take advantage of that and get in the weight room. But yeah, and as well continue to improve my agility and speed. Try and just become the best athlete I can this off season and see how that translates into my baseball. Whether I start throwing the ball harder, running faster, hitting the ball further. Yeah, obviously I'm going to continue to kind of polish my baseball skills. But yeah, I guess see how good of an athlete I can become.
You talk about the strength and working on that. I want to know how you look at numbers. Are you more of a traditional guy? I mean, are you when you see your 2021 line of an 878 OPS, are you happy about that, or are you happy about the 310 batting average, or are you more of a 141 WRC plus kind of guy? Do you more lean onto the traditional stats, or are you more of a new age analytics guy?
Probably for a baseline, probably a more traditional guy, but I'm definitely starting to take more of an interest in, OPS, WRC plus, all of those things, and starting to understand that. And I think they're definitely better judgments of a season and how they've been going. I actually keep a journal just for myself and for my mental state when I'm struggling of how many quality at bats I have per day, because I find that's a better stat for me to kind of judge myself on rather than how many hits I got that day. But I mean, it's definitely nice to look up on the board and see you're hitting 300. So, but yeah, I would say I'm kind of more so traditional, but now leaning towards the new school, and I think that's where the game's trending. And I think it's good for hitters, to not judge themselves against the more traditional ways.
Yeah, and I don't mean to pry. You don't have to tell me all the secrets that are in the journal, but can you give us a little bit of a little bit of imagery of what actually goes from the ink to the paper on when do you write these thoughts down after the game, before the game, while during the at bats? What's the content? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so mainly just after the game, and some days I don't really feel like it. I went 4 for 4. I don't need to write down that I had a good day. I already feel amazing. So, but yeah, it's more on the days that I've struggled. I might be 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts in a line out or something. And, that line out hurts a lot more when you're 0 for 3 than it does when you're 3 for 3. So, yeah, I write down my preparation and how I prepared for the day, how I slept, what I ate, how my hydration's been going. And then I write my fielding efforts, how I went in between innings, how I went during the inning, and then an overall score on that. And then I rate my at-bats based on a few metrics that I have for a quality at-bat and how many quality at-bats I had. So, yeah, I just try to keep it pretty basic and more things I can control. So then I guess on a daily basis, even if I don't have a good game, I know that I kind of put everything in place to prepare for a good day, so that I did everything I could. And, it didn't happen today, and I had a rough day, but I mean, I did everything that I planned to do, and I took care of my stuff. So yeah, I think just keeping everything consistent on a day-to-day basis is important, and that's kind of what I write down.
Now, is that something that the Rays instructed or advised to their minor league players, of keeping a journal of how you sleep, what you eat, what you drink, and your at bats, and what you do at the plate and in the field? Or is that something you kind of took on your own, or you got the idea from another player or coach? Just how did that idea come about?
Yeah, so initially it came from Hannah Huseman. She's actually the Phillies mental skills coach. So my first year over there, I went through a really rough patch. I think I was like 3 for 40 in the GCL, and I was going, I'm so far away from home. I can't hit at all at the moment. Like I finish, I go for 4, and I feel terrible. And I was like, I just, I need something day to day to reset, because every day is a new opportunity. But I was just, I was tumbling. I was going 0 for 4. The next day I would roll around. I had no confidence. I'd go 0 for 4 again, and it was just not a good headspace to be in. So we kind of worked on, what are some things that I can judge myself on that are not performance, well, I guess outcome based. So it started there, and then transitioned over to the Rays, and I spoke with a few of our mental skills coaches, and yeah, I told them that this is kind of what I was doing, and it helped me feel better when I went 0 for 4, or I wrote down no matter what. And they were like, yeah, this is a really good tool to have, I guess. And, now everyone got a journal at the spring training this year. So it's pretty cool to see there. So they're definitely encouraging it more now for everyone. And it's definitely a tool that we're taught, I guess. And yeah, I know a lot of guys utilize it. So.
Kevin, you know me, I'm not a professional anything, but that seems like a really great idea. I mean, just when you write down and you can look back and all the things that worked for you, I think that's just fantastic.
Certainly. And Curtis, I wanted to follow up on that a little bit as far as a quality at bat. How do you go about grading yourself on that, and what you consider to be a quality at bat? I'm sure there's different levels of, this was an okay quality at bat, or this was a really good quality at bat. How do you go about judging and going through that?
Yeah, so initially I do number of pitches, so 8 or more. I find that if I have, I face 8 or more pitches, I really made the guy work, no matter strikeout, walk, whatever the outcome. Secondly, whether I reach base. So even if it's an error, I help my team. I help the team move along. So I base hit, walk, reach base, however, hit by pitch, and then again, if I found the barrel. So if I hit the ball hard, I give myself a quality at bat, because that's the name of the game. You know what I mean? You're trying to hit the ball as hard as you can all the time. So if I hit the barrel, so they're kind of the main 3, and I'll go a little bit deeper in the at bat, and I'll write in there if I think the umpire did me dirty or something like that. So yeah, I kind of write probably 2 or 3 sentences at the end of the day on how the at-bats went, whether I felt something in BP, whether I felt an adjustment in the field. And, I'll kind of spend 5 or 10 minutes at the end of the day filling that out. And I find a lot of the time, if I'm pretty frustrated in my performance, that after I've written it all down, I can kind of refresh and get ready for tomorrow.
Yeah, and you've been so good offensively as of late, and it's been something that's been talked about so much. And I just wanted to ask about your approach at the plate. What is kind of your bread and butter? Are you Are you hunting first pitch fastballs? Are you looking at a particular zone in the plate? Are you trying to go middle away? Just what's kind of your mindset as you step into the batter's box of this is what I'm looking to do generally?
I would say initially I'm trying to find something in the middle of the plate, fast, soft, whatever it is. I'm trying to swing at as many middle pitches as I can, and kind of not really. I'm not too good at it, but not offer anything kind of on the edges or outside the zone. And I'm trying to hit the ball to the middle of the field. I'm fit enough that I've got enough power to hit the ball out to center field, right center, left center. So find if I aim big, I can miss big and get rewarded, down the right field line or down the left field line. So yeah, just trying to hit the ball as hard as I can in the middle of the.
And then when you have 2 strikes on you, and I guess it may depend on the count, but do you change your approach at all? Do you choke up? Do you go with a shorter leg kick or a shorter swing to put something in play, or are you just kind of, you don't really change things at all as far as how you go about your swing?
Yeah, I definitely make adjustments. I'm not sure if they're super physical adjustments. I kind of shorten my load. I let the fastball get a little deeper, give the guy a little bit respect. And, one thing that really sticks with me is Jason Ochart, who's the Phillies hitting coordinator, and he would always tell us before 2 strikes, you may fool me, but you won't beat me. And then with 2 strikes, you may beat me, but you won't fool me. So kind of, letting that fastball get a little bit deeper and being ready for every pitch because, they're going to throw the kitchen sink at you. So,
we've been talking, I know chicks dig the long ball.
Yeah.
We've been talking a lot about hitting. But what about the glove work? What about the arm? What I know first base, third base, you're a corner infielder. How do you work on the defensive side of things? How do you grade yourself defensively? Do you find yourself making good throws? Can you talk a little bit about your work defensively?
Yeah, that was a really big focus this year. Coming into spring training, I had a really good defensive year in Adelaide. We played 25 games or whatever it was, and I didn't make an error. So I was coming into spring training pretty amped. But then, the more I dove into it, the more I understood that I actually wasn't as good as I thought. My ability to make the routine play was really good, but the extra effort plays, my footwork wasn't kind of where it needed to be. So I did a lot of work with our minor league field coordinator, Michael Johns, and Ochoa, who's our infield coordinator. So we did a lot of work this year kind of on my agility and my first step and my pre-pitch, a few little things to work on my footwork. And I think towards the back half of the year, I definitely started defending kind of at a higher level than at the start of the year. So I think I've got reasonable hands, and if I can get my feet going, then I'm usually a pretty good defender.
Do the Rays show you, besides the basic errors and putouts and assists and things of that nature, do they have some advanced metrics that maybe the average fan isn't able to see, that they show you of this is what your range is, this is how strong your arm is, this is your first step quickness, that you can kind of see those measurable things with numbers attached to them?
Yeah, that's actually interesting because I think it was Taylor Walls won shortstop of the year or something defensively, and they said, he made 12 plays that were over like less than 25% of being made a play or whatever. And I hadn't really seen anything like that, and I went to the coaching staff and said, I want to see what my metrics were, like good, bad, or ugly. I want to kind of see more in depth how you view me and how many plays, like above average plays I made, and how many plays I didn't make that I probably should have. They sat down with me at the end of the year and we went through all the outs. So it was pretty cool to get that type of feedback and kind of understand where I'm at. Because I obviously knew how many errors I made and how I had a pretty good defensive back half. But then, to see that I made a few really like above average plays was pretty cool.
Are there any third baseman or first baseman in the big leagues or the minor leagues or in the Rays organization that you look up to or watch highlights of, or you say, I want to be able to kind of replicate what this guy does, this consistency or this great play? Do you focus on that at all, or it's just you're kind of trying to be your own player and take input from the coaches. I didn't know, when people think of third baseman, they might think of Nolan Arenado and Matt Chapman, and the Rays have a very good one in Joey Wendell. I didn't know if you kind of pick little pieces from each of those guys and try to make yourself a better player by seeing what they're doing and going from there.
Yeah, no, probably a big one's Nolan Arenado. I made the switch actually to mainly third base in 2019, and I watched a lot of his footwork, and there's a few things on YouTube about what type of drills he does and how he trains his footwork, and it's a little bit different to the middle of the field, which is what I played prior. So yeah, I definitely take a bit from him, and I've talked to coaches. I said, I saw him do this last night. Like, does that make sense, or is that not really the right way to go about it? So yeah, I've been working on the coaches a good bit, and also another one who's actually, he's really highly rated as a defensive player, but he's still kind of coming up into the big leagues, is Brian Hayes.
Yes.
He's a really good defensive third baseman. And actually, my first year with the Phillies, his father, Charlie Hayes, was my assistant coach. So just started playing third, and, we worked on some stuff together that he's continually working on with Key Brian. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. And now to see him go up to the big leagues and play a really good third base, and he's making some spectacular plays. It's pretty cool.
Certainly, and Curtis, kind of moving along here with what you're looking to do in the future and playing in the minor leagues so far. I did want to ask, and we try to ask other minor league players about this as well, but you've been at 3 levels this year: low A, high A, and then triple A, and you've played alongside a lot of guys, I'm sure. Are there any players you've played with that have really stood out to you and said, man, this guy's a really, really talented player, whether it's a pitcher or a position player or somebody that's just maybe a bat first only guy? Are there any names you want to throw out there that are like, man, Rays fans need to watch out for this prospect? Of course, we want to watch out for Curtis Mead because you're doing great, but another guy or two that you want to kind of give kudos to that's a really, really talented player.
Yeah, I mean, probably 2 that comes to mind in high A when I played was Greg Jones. Some of the stuff he does on the base pass is just incredible. And, I could never do anything like that. And he really is a game changer. When he gets on, he steals second, he moves to third. I remember hitting a ball to the outfield this year. He was on third, and I was thinking, there is no way that's enough. And, sure enough, he tagged up and he scored, and I was like, that's just incredible. Like, I didn't really deserve to be rewarded for a sac fly there. But, yeah, he was incredible to watch for the time that we played together in high A. And probably another one was Blake Hunt behind the plate. You don't really understand how good a catcher is until you play with one who's a really high-level catcher. So, yeah, he's a really special defender, and, yeah, he had an awesome year behind the plate. So, yeah, probably them 2.
Blake Hunt, we had on the show, cerebral guy, just a really fun talk. And Curtis, every single minor leaguer that we've had on the show has said Greg Jones. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable. So, maybe we should get him on the show.
I know. We've heard freak athlete many times on what he's able to bring to the table. Curtis, of course, it's not always about baseball. You got to have some hobbies. You got to have some things you like to do outside of the game and in your downtime. What are your hobbies? What do you like to do when you're not on the baseball field or working out or training for the next game? I'm
a massive golfer. I play golf probably 2 or 3 times a week in the off season. So yeah, I really enjoy playing golf. It's something, especially over COVID, that I continued to play a lot. And it was, at the time I couldn't really get better at baseball. The facilities were limited, the coaching was limited. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go to the driving range and see how good I can get. So it's something I really improved on, and it kind of helped me stay sane through COVID. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Well, we have that in common, Curtis, because I am an avid golfer. Ulises knows that I'm usually at the driving range a couple times a week and on the golf course on the weekends as well. I don't mean to pry or be rude, but can you share your handicap with the stick? What are you standing at right now?
Probably when I left for Australia, which was last off season in March, I was a 1.9. But right now I'm probably playing at 5 to
1 point.
Yeah.
So essentially, a very, very, very elite golfer as well. I'm jealous already. The second golf question I have is, what are you averaging off the tee with your driver? I would guess probably 300 plus yards or pretty close to that.
Yeah, I'd probably say over 3 bills. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. I'm done with the golf questions because now I'm just I'm gonna go into my hole and be quiet now.
Well, you know what? Kevin can do the golf. I want to talk about food, Australian cuisine. Is there something that you missed the most that you're like, oh man, you know what? I had an 0 for 3 with a couple strikeouts. I want to feel better, but I don't have blank here to eat. What is that food that you miss most from Adelaide, Australia?
Well, it's not technically Australian, but we have it a lot, and it's really famous. It's probably a chicken schnitzel. So it's like a chicken palm, but it's like a breadcrumb chicken breast and chips and a pint of beer on the weekend goes down nicely. So yeah.
Oh my, that would be the best while watching baseball.
Yeah.
Imagine if they had it at the Trop. That'd be great.
Yeah, it goes down well.
I bet it does.
That might have to be an ad when Curtis Mead makes it to the bigs.
There you go. A marketing strategy for the Race baseball marketing team. There you go. Curtis Mead, and then we have some sort of Australian cuisine. I love it.
Very good.
I like
Curtis, thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you the best of success going forward. We know just by speaking to you, we know you're going to crush it this upcoming season and throughout the fall league, and the dedication to your craft and going forward with that. So I think we found it. After people listen to this episode, there'll be a lot more Curtis Mead fans out there. Is that fair to say, Ulises?
100%. And thank you again for taking the time. And really, do you have a message for race fans out there that might be listening to you on Locked On Race?
Nothing in particular, I guess. Yeah, just hopefully I can get up there soon and contribute. And it'd be nice to win a World Series in the near future. And I hope